Students, obviously, we all deserve a safe classroom space, and online it's kind of easy to let that sort of thing get away from us, especially if we've built our discussions in such a way that there are multiple monstrous posts. Discussions can become this really unwieldy place to go and look. And so in terms of giving a safe classroom space, assess, obviously. Each week we assess the participation, give them feedback, they know we're there. Address, if something happens, immediately. Peggy takes it off the discussion board and emails the student. I would email students privately and say this is not acceptable. If it was really offensive, I would call the student and I would take it off of the discussion board. And I think I've only had to do that once ever. But it was offensive, it would have been viral, it would have spread to the rest of the group, and so it had to be removed and it had to be addressed. Be visible, always being visible in the class. Organize so that you can manage your discussions, that way they don't get away from you. One big discussion in a class of even 20 students, that can get completely unmanageable. So it's helpful to organize your discussions. Then we'll talk about how to do that. And then being predictable, that they know you're going to be there. They know when you're going to be there, and they know what you're going to think about what they've done when you get there. So always being predictable. And these are the 10 rules of netiquette, and I gave you the URL to that. And there are links within these so that if you're not sure what they mean, you can click on them and it gives you an explanation. So I don't think it's bad to set expectations for netiquette up front, because again, if I set up those expectations, then I can take off points throughout the course. So I'm assuming netiquette is something we can just brush on by. Quick feedback equals motivated online learners, and you see the keychain. It's really easy to procrastinate, especially because with our face-to-face students, if we're not grading papers and sending them back to them, they can see our smile when we walk into the classroom. They can see that it's nothing personal against them, and it's not that they've done a horrible job. We just hadn't graded their papers yet. I mean, after all, we got 70 to grade. So online, they can't see that smile. And they can build in their head this fiction of, oh my gosh, I don't have my paper back, I'm sure I did horribly. And this can impact persistence. So getting them that feedback immediately not only helps them to meet your objectives in the way that they've been stated, but it also will lead to greater persistence in the online course. And that's a challenge always. When we say timely, this is what the research says about timely. A maximum of 7 days for assignment feedback. It seems really fast to some of us. 7 days for participation feedback. Really, to be effective, it should be less than 7, but we're only human. Immediate private responses to inappropriate posts. And responses to posts that should be seen as models. And it's just that old positive reinforcement thing. If I praise this person, then everyone else is going to try to align their posts to meet more closely with what this person has done. And so in terms of that feedback, we can get smart about what we're doing in our online class. And we probably are already very smart about what we're doing in our online class. In the case of those of us who've been teaching for a long time, what we want to do is to avoid that dilemma of taking our face-to-face class and trying to cram it into an online format where it really isn't as effective. I see people who say, well, this is the content we cover in our face-to-face class. I don't know how I'm going to cover all that content online. And really, I'm not sure that's the question we should be asking. I think the question we should be asking is, how can I best help my students meet the outcomes for this course in an online environment? It may or may not be with the same materials that we use face-to-face. We could chunk our large assignments so that we're not grading 5 25-page papers every week or every 3 weeks. We could feel good about quality over quantity. If they don't read the whole textbook, does that mean that their artifact is of lesser quality than those students who did? I don't know the answer, just asking. Consider oral presentations rather than papers. I don't know if any of you have used Tegrity, but Tegrity is a great tool, and students can use it. And so if you called Vishal, who is my office mate, and you said, please add Tegrity to my course, then he could add it, and your students could go there. And within a few minutes of configuration, they can click a button, and it's so easy. And they can speak, and you can hear them as long as they have a microphone. If they had a webcam, it would record their face, and then they can present their PowerPoint. Whatever is on their screen is what is seen. And this would be a great alternative maybe to papers, if you enjoy. Okay, and then another way we can get smart to help students in the online course would be to use groups to provide that critical feedback. That can really cut down on the number of grammar mistakes that we have to look at within a paper. It can also contribute to their understanding of the outcome of the paper as they support each other toward getting to the point that we turn that in. So, small manageable groups rather than one big group. Just chunking the discussions in this way can make them more manageable for us. If we've got a big group and everybody's responding to each other, it's very easy to lose track of where people are, of who people are, of where the conversation is. But if we have groups of 3 to 4 people, I think 3 is perfect. Because with 3 people in a group, nobody becomes invisible. Everybody is accountable. With 4 people, one person can kind of move into the background. But we can't always control that. But 3 to 4 people a group. Predictable discussions. Whatever you do to spur discussion, it's helpful if you do the same thing every week. So if you're asking open-ended questions, it's helpful to do that every week in your course. If you're asking them to reflect on the reading material, it's helpful if that's every week and predictable. And then if you're asking them to do peer assessment of assignments, it's helpful if that's due on the same day of the week, every week. And this kind of predictability, even though it's the sort of thing that drives creative people crazy like me, I'm creative, I don't like it, didn't like it, but it is the way to increase persistence in your class. And students, because they're not coming into walls and a desk, really enjoy these supports, this predictability. It helps them to know they're safe in their online classroom. And then go ahead and you can do this. You can set these boundaries for your interaction with the group. You can say, okay, I'm going to be reading your posts, but I'm going to wait until all of you have posted first. And by the way, that's due on Tuesday night. So on Wednesday, you can expect that I'm going to